if they come in before that point, if they come in now, why we need them, then the mentality of most of us, aside from the people with the pitchforks and the free software people who are, no man, proprietary's bad, software patents are bad, man, everything's bad if it's not all open, man. Aside from those people, which really are, that's like a divide over here in open source and Linux and so on. There's free, and then there's free, and then there's free. It's a complex topic, but I think the mentality of most of us, we're pragmatists. We'd say GIMP is great if you're not doing professional stuff. If you need professional stuff, you probably want to consider buying Elements or Photoshop if it was available. But am I wrong in that?
Well, GIMP is actually pretty good. I've seen a lot of paintings in GIMP that are just amazing.
No, GIMP's great. It's just there's some things that are easier in Photoshop.
Depends on what you're doing, yeah.
It really does.
But if I may continue my point, I do think that, yes, you're right. It does give people on the open source side incentive to develop a better free Office suite. However, I don't think that this fight with open office is really about fighting open office. I think it's about fighting open source.
Yeah, they said that several times through that ad. It's like, open source is not blah, 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 blah,
I think
blah,
this
blah.
has way less to do with open office than open source, which is why I don't think that your point is valid for that, because they're not trying to, they don't care as much about open office.
Especially since Oracle bought it.
Right. So, yeah.
Well, you know what's so funny about that is not all open source is free. It's like it doesn't have to be free in dollar amounts to be free or open source software. It's what open means is just that. It's open.
Well, the source has to be free.
There's paid open source project.
Well, you'd be paying for the binary or for the support.
You're paying for the binary support, but yeah, the source code has to be free, and if someone could compile that, then potentially they could resell that. Is what I understand.
That's how CentOS has made its name.
Yeah.
By taking the Red Hat Enterprise, paid for support and everything, and providing it free from the same source RPMs.
Well, it's like in and of itself, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And honestly, I don't think anyone, including Red Hat, really has a problem with Cent, because they. Well, no, it's like honestly they don't. Where people get a problem is when people do something like Xandro OS. That's where some bad blood gets involved. That's a little different twist on that. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, James, and it's like, and the problem with Open is, Open adopts the idea that all roads don't have to lead to us, and if we take it in a direction you don't want to go, which is what we're going to get into next, like Oracle's doing with OpenOffice, the community that wants very much to go this way, even though you're trying to drag them that way, will go this way. You can't force them to do something they don't want to, which is a power that, has been the mentality of the whole software game since the inception of software. It's like, I must be able to tell you to drink the poison water so I do better, rather than make the best product, which is a different matter altogether. Anyways, did you find out any more tidbits on that LibreOffice ultimatum, for lack of a better word?
No, I haven't viewed any updates on it, but it was pretty interesting. These people are people that work for Oracle, a lot of them. So
apparently not anymore.
Exactly. Jordan, did you hear about this?
I did. I didn't hear what the final result was. I just heard about the ultimatum.
Well, I read the IRC log, and they said they're rescheduled for Monday, so we're going to find out in a few days next week. what happened. So they're going to reschedule a meeting on Monday where they're going to talk about this.
Yeah, next week's going to be an interesting thing. If these people are all given the pink slip and basically kicked out on their butt, which I really do think is what's going to happen Monday, I don't think Oracle has an appreciation for the just boomerang effect this is going to have on them. I really don't think they do. That's the way they're treating all these Sun patents they bought and just like that. I don't think they realize what they're doing. It's their prerogative to do it, but that would pretty much kill the Open Office brand, for lack of a better term. Any thought on that, Jordan? Or
what I read said something to the effect that they were getting ready to rededicate their efforts to OpenOffice.org, so it's entirely possible that they could try to merge the fork back in. I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening at this point. There's too much public bad blood.
There's a lot of bad blood there.
I think the general consensus of all these people in the Libre fork at this point is, oh, now that we've forked, all of a sudden you care about OpenOffice. This is pretty much their opinion. It's like, where were you last week? It's like, or, well, month actually at this point, but it's,
So, I mean, I'm kind of confused with, why do you think that Red Hat doesn't care about CentOS?
I think they view it as healthy competition, and I think they'd love to outcompete it. But as far as, I mean, I may be completely wrong about this, but I have never seen any indication that Red Hat has like bad blood about the fact that basically CentOS is very much direct competition, if not in some ways for Fedora.
All they could compete on is just marketing, because it's the same product with a different name. So how is it really?
It's the same product with a different name, but it's not the same support. That's it is, but it isn't. And I think at the end of the day, the way Red Hat views this is, well, this isn't really a threat as long as we make sure we have better service. Which is really what Red Hat's bread and butter is all about. Red Hat's bread and butter isn't about the Red Hat OS, it's about the Red Hat service. Because what you're buying with Red Hat is Red Hat. You're buying the Red Hat service and support team behind the OS. And why it's, like you say, basically the same OS, it's not the same service and support team. It's not the same company. It's not the same stuff. So it's really two companies competing on selling the same product. But I'm not. It's if you want the enterprise support, and a lot of the people who prefer Red Hat to Fedora is like that's what they're buying. They're buying the Red Hat support, and I think Red Hat understands that. And Cent is largely free. It's it's more a threat to Fedora, which was not a direct revenue stream for Red Hat anyways. Basically this lets them lighten up their work on Fedora and focus their energies on their profit tier and still continue to give back to the community. Or do you think I'm full of?
Well, actually, I don't know how much of a threat to Fedora Cent is, because it's kind of like saying that Debian would be a threat to Ubuntu. I mean, they're kind of different animals.
Yeah, no, it's like in that regard, they still. I just mean from like the market share, it's largely gobbling up.
Cent has, I don't know. It's where Red Hat is so much older. It's more stable than Fedora, but it also it's a little more outdated. So a lot of people would be, if they're looking for the up-to-date packages, would go toward Fedora.
Right. So, that's like I said. I don't know anyone at Red Hat, so maybe Red Hat does consider something they need to do something about, and they don't like it. I don't know, but that's like I haven't seen anything to ever indicate that. And Cent, it's not like Cent is brand new or anything. It's been out for a number of years.
It's sort of along the lines of just making any other distro derivative, except this one, instead of being a derivative, it's the same, almost the same thing, just without the branding on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of reason for them to complain about it, because at the end of the day, they're still using the same sort of distro. And at the end of the day, if they want that support, they'll end up going to Red Hat.
Yeah. At the end of the day.
It's sort of like promotion.
It's just a matter of what I don't like is that, I could say that it's stealing from Red Hat, but it's not, because that's how open source works. You're allowed to take stuff, but the problem is I don't know if Cent really gives anything back.
Well, that's a different matter altogether. I don't know if Cent really does give anything back, and that is something to get into, because one thing Red Hat has always been good about is giving back to the community. So, it's Jordan. Do you know where?
I don't know if there's anything specifically they've given back to the community, but what was I looking up? The Wikipedia page, and it mentioned that it's composed largely of Red Hat packages, which implies that there are some additional CentOS specific items, but
yeah, there are a few. I'm trying to think of one specifically off the top of my head.
What I see with Linux mentality is that it's fine to take stuff from other places, but to be fair, if you make money off of them and they get really popular, you should give something back.
Yeah, that's more ethics than
I understand it.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's for lack of a better example, it's like when you go to someone's Super Bowl party. Since football's back in game here inside, but even though we're a few months off from the Super Bowl, when you go to somebody's Super Bowl party, you're not, at least the ones I've been to, you're not required to bring anything. And the person who's hosting is putting on a good spread, but it's bad manners to go there without bringing anything. At the very least, you buy a pizza and bring it with you or something. It's because it's like, and it's the same mentality with Linux. It's like you're under no direct obligation to, but you'll get a lot of stares from everybody else in the room. Of like, really. It's very much that mentality, and it's your, the shoot is, you may not be invited back next year. You may kind of get shunned. You may get sun. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Cent or anything, but it's one of those. The mentality that's given to the Linux community as a whole is that we're all in this for a free ride, and that is true to a certain extent. But we all understand there's a price to the free ride. There's a reason I spend a few hours a week, if not a little bit more, on the forums for the distro I'm using. I'm like, yeah, hey, I know exactly how to fix that. That threw me a little off, too. And I think we all do that. It's one of those, it's that, for lack of a better word, camaraderie that makes the whole thing work. If everybody leeches, the whole thing kind of just dries up. It's like, and I've seen some distros where that happens. If everybody was a leech, it doesn't last. But, yeah, anything else to say on that, or do we want to move on?
I'm good to move on.
Okay.